20 to 40 minutes. Or half.
Oh,
Or half of mine.
oh, you got yours.
It's done. Yes.
Thank you very much, everyone. I am presenting a professional seminar on INFP, the Dreamer. And the rationale for presenting this seminar is a means to self-discovery for myself. I will first give you a glimpse into the INFP inner life through a song. Thank you. And now I will give you an overview of the Myers-Briggs personality types. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator is an introspective self-report questionnaire claiming to indicate psychological preferences in how people perceive the world around them and make decisions. It was created by Catherine Cooks Briggs and her daughter Isabel Briggs Meyer. And it is particularly rooted in a typological theory proposed by Carl Jung. Four principal psychological functions by which humans experience the world, such as sensation, intuition, feeling, and thinking, and that one of these four functions is dominant for a person most of the time. Based on this theory, there are 8 faculties, and there are pairs of faculties which are diametrically opposed to one another. There is introversion versus extroversion, intuition versus sensing, feeling versus thinking, and perceiving versus judging. So as they're diametrically opposed to one another, when you're using one, the other is on hold. We will first look at the faculties of introversion versus extroversion. Introversion is a preference to focus on the world inside the self. Therefore, introverts tend to be quiet, peaceful, and deliberate, and are not attracted to social interactions. Extroversion, on the other hand, is a preference to focus on the world outside the self. Extroverts usually enjoy social interactions and tend to be enthusiastic, verbal, assertive, and animated. And it's particularly important to note that extroversion and introversion is not one and the same with the social nature of one, but rather refers to the way that a person gains his or her energy. As I mentioned earlier, introverts gain energy from the world within the self, while extroverts gain energy from the world outside the self, the environment. Now we will look at qualities of introversion versus extroversion. Introversion is energized by time alone, often private, keeps to oneself, quiet, deliberate, internally aware, fewer friends, prefers smaller groups, independent, not socially inclined, enjoys solitude, and thinks before speaking. Extroversion, on the other hand, is characterized by being gregarious, assertive, talkative, social, outgoing, liking groups, parties, etc., energized by interaction, expressive and enthusiastic, volunteering personal information, distractible, having many friends, and being easy to approach. Now we will look at the faculties of intuition versus sensing. Intuition and sensing both refer to how people process data. Intuitive people focus on the future and possibilities. They process information through patterns and impressions. They read between the lines. They are abstract thinkers. Sensing people, on the other hand, focus on the present. They are here and now people who are factual and process information through the five senses. They see things as they are, and they are concrete thinkers. Now we will look at qualities of intuition versus qualities of sensing. Intuition involves being future-focused, seeing possibilities, being inventive, imaginative, deep, abstract, idealistic, complicated, and theoretical. Sensing, on the other hand, involves being concrete, realistic, living in the present, being aware of surroundings, noticing details, being practical, going by the senses, and being factual. Now we will look at the two faculties of feeling and thinking, which both refer to how people make decisions. Feeling people are subjective and make decisions based on principles and values. They are ruled by their heart instead of their head. Feeling people judge situations and others based on feelings and extenuating circumstances. Thinking people, on the other hand, are objective and make decisions based on facts. They are ruled by their head instead of their heart. Thinking people judge situations and others based on logic. Qualities of feeling are deciding with the heart, disliking conflict, being passionate, being driven by emotion, gentle, easily hurt, empathetic, caring of others, and being warm. Thinking people, on the other hand, are logical, objective, deciding with the head, wanting truth, rational, impersonal, critical, thick-skinned, firm with people, and driven by thought. And then finally, we will look at the last two pairs of faculties, which are perceiving versus judging. They are both the preferences that are outwardly displayed. Perceiving people are flexible, like to keep options open, and think randomly. They often act spontaneously and are adaptable. They like to keep things open-ended. Judging does not mean judgmental, but rather people who like order, organization, and think sequentially. They like to have things planned and settled. They seek closure. The qualities of perceiving are being adaptable, relaxed, disorganized, carefree, spontaneous, changing tracks midway, keeping options open, procrastinating, disliking routine, and being flexible. Judging, on the other hand, deals with being decisive, controlled, good at finishing, organized, structured, scheduled, quick at tasks, responsible, liking closure, and making plans. And those are the 4 pairs of faculties that the human beings use. Now let's look at the different combinations that can be made. 4 squared equals 16, therefore there are 16 different personality types, which Mary Ellen actually covered in her last presentation. There is the question of whether you are outwardly or inwardly focused. On the whole, that would be extroversion or versus introversion, and how you prefer to take in information, which would be sensing versus intuition, how you prefer to make decisions, which is thinking versus feeling, and how you prefer to live your outer life, which is judging versus perceiving. Therefore, the different 16 personality types are the ISTJ, ISFJ, INFJ, INTJ, ISTP, ISFP, INFP, INTP. Those are all the combinations that can be made of the introverted type. Then the extroverted types are the ESTP, the ESFP, the ENFP, the ENTP, the ESTJ, the ESFJ, the ENFJ, and the ENTJ. I'm going to focus the seminar on the type that I identify with, which is the INFP type. So it is broken down into the letters I for introverted, N for intuition, F for feeling, and P for perceiving. Those are all the qualities which I make up over the other factors. Now let's take a look at my particular profile, the results of the test that I took. It's particularly interesting to note that I am 63% introverted and 37% extroverted, and actually 100% intuitive and 0% sensing, 53% feeling and 47% thinking, 58% perceiving, and 42% judging. It's very interesting to note that I am more or less balanced in the different pairs, such as the one which I'm most balanced in is feeling versus thinking. My cousin actually mentioned that he thinks of me as a thinker, which makes sense too, because I am unique as an INFP as being logical, as you see there, which is uncommon for an INFP, not usually tied to logic, but I'm a logical INFP. And the one in which I'm really, which is a far cry for help, as you can see, is 100% intuitive and 0% sensing. When I looked at those results, I was shocked, because I would have thought that I would have at least a bit of sensing in me, but I believe that this is a far cry for help. My family said some ways I could deal with it is one way is to make good of it, lemonade out of lemons, to find a calling which requires a lot of intuition. I thought that was a good idea. However, I also would like to work towards some balance of intuition versus sensing. Because I am an artist, and an artist needs to have a good balance of imagination and reality, the world within and the world outside. So, like I have been told throughout my life, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your surroundings. And now I see why, because I'm not as much of a sensing person, which involves being aware of my surroundings and focusing on the moment. But in order to find balance, I'm going to try to find a balance between being aware of the world within and of my surroundings so I can really grow as a person. Earlier, my goal was to be 50-50 with intuition versus sensing, but then I realized that would be like a state of perfection. There would be very rare people who would be 50-50. So right now, I think I'll aim for a goal of 70-30, intuition versus sensing. And here is my horoscope chart. My friend had calculated my horoscope chart according to my birth time and place. And it's interesting to note, an expert would particularly be able to read it and see that this horoscope chart shows an individual who is very self-focused and self-aware. And that falls perfectly in line with my Myers-Briggs type of the INFP, who is very self-expressive and self-aware and self-focused. So this, I think this is, my horoscope chart is concrete proof for the fact that astrology can be deemed a valid science. Now we will look at the inner life of the INFP. The inner drive is authenticity, what lies in the core of heart, which is the driving force underlying decisions and functions, a belief, a genuine, true, authentic belief. An INFP would move mountains to accomplish endeavors, can also be looked on literally as a reluctant hero, just as capable as any other personality type of becoming a hero of the history books or a legend. Now we will look at the inner world of the INFP. The INFP's inner world and psyche has been categorized as a dream world. Don't you just love that categorization? It is quoted to be like an enormous set of caverns in Arabian Nights, filled with all manner of strange and wonderful treasures. It has a strange and inviting type of glow, glowing deep from within the caverns. And through the explorations, you are able to discover the source of this beautiful glow. The INFP can be looked at as a fae from the otherworldly realm. An INFP never loses the childlike sense of wonder and perceives the world through rose-colored glasses. I will play a brief clip from a song to allow you to experience the inner life of an INFP.
stars are breaking through, then all of my dreams are gone into a dream.
Thank you very much. And we will look at the Enneatype 4, which I fall into as a romantic, an artist, and an individualist INFP. I am self-aware, sensitive and reserved, emotionally honest, creative, and personal. I have an ego fixation of being melancholy and fantasizing. The holy idea is origin. The basic fear is having no identity or significance. Basic desire is to be uniquely myself. The temptation is to overuse information in search of self. The vice or passion is envy. And the virtue is equanimity or emotional balance. And I'll play a short clip again to get you into my inner life as an artist. And that is more specifically my inner life as a true romantic. And William Shakespeare is one notable INFP who has depicted the twin Baroque concepts or tropes that life is a dream and the world is a stage. He is particularly noted for introducing the concept of inner life within the human being. Now let's look at a brief clip from A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare.
If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here while visions did appear, and this weak and idle thing, no more yielding, but to dream. Gentles, do not reprehend. If you pardon, we will mend. Else the cock or I are called. So good night unto you all. Give me your hands if we be friends, and Robin shall restore. Amen.
So that is the great William Shakespeare, the Bard. And another famous INFP is Audrey Hepburn, who is a really noted as a definitive actor. I'll read to you some quotes from her. Everything I learned from the movies. The beauty of a woman must be seen from in her eyes, because that is the doorway to her heart, in the place where love resides. I believe in pink. I believe that laughing is the best calorie burner. I believe in kissing a lot. I believe in being strong when everything seems to be going wrong. I believe that happy girls are the prettiest girls. I believe that tomorrow is another day, and I believe in miracles. And that is Audrey Hepburn. And another notable INFP is J.R.R. Tolkien. I had mentioned fairy tales before and fairies. J.R.R. Tolkien particularly wrote the On Fairy Stories 1939 lecture, in which he defines the otherworldly realm of fairyland, and he describes that you get eyes of wonder from reading a fairy tale. And by reading a fairy tale, you look at the world through rose-colored glasses. And that is J.R.R. Tolkien. Another noted INFP is Edgar Allan Poe. I really enjoy his poem, A Dream Within the Dream, from which there are the lines, "Is all but we see and seem, but yet a dream within a dream?" Then there is Cosette from Les Miserables, who is a classic ingenue, and she is particularly noted for her song, A Castle in a Cloud. She is a fictional INFP. Then there is Anne Shirley from Anne of Green Gables, who has a deliciously rich world of imagination. I have traced to you different fictional and real-life INFP. Now I will trace to you and present to you the INFP's path towards success. The INFP will really become the best version of himself or herself through an exploration of the outside world, exploring beyond the boundaries of the page and really exploring the real world. And it is through that he or she will establish a profound impact on the world. You see here, you have in this picture or painting, which is the background of this PowerPoint, a girl blowing her thought bubbles into the world, her dream bubbles into the world. So that is my ultimate goal, to make my inner world of dreams a reality. I will particularly discuss the eyes of wonder, which I had mentioned the INFP has. It is interesting to note that in the